Donald Trump got some real good news today from the judge overseeing the case involving his handling of classified documents. Now, the judge has decided that the trial will not begin this month on May 20th. In fact, it will be postponed indefinitely. And so what is the judge citing for her reasoning? Well, Judge Cannon claims that there are some issues that need to be dealt with when it comes to the evidence for the case. She says finalization of a trial date at this juncture before resolution of the myriad and interconnected pretrial and classified evidence issues would be imprudent and inconsistent with the court's duty to fully and fairly consider the various pending pretrial motions. And that's what Cannon wrote in a 5-page order. Now, considering the fact that it has now been postponed indefinitely, there's a very good chance that Trump will not stand trial in the classified documents case before the election. And if he wins the general election, very likely he will never stand trial, not only for this classified documents case, but also for the special counsel's federal election interference case as well.
Yeah, so look, Judge Cannon has not given us a lot of reasons to be confident in her decision making and her objectivity. A lot of the other judges in the different cases, in my opinion, oftentimes bend over backwards for Donald Trump, but you could tell that they're trying to actually get to a fair trial. And so they're bending over backwards for Trump so that there's no appearance of impropriety or unfairness towards Trump, etc. And I could live with that. I could live with it, okay?
Pausing here to deliver some honest truth as we do in our news coverage as well. TYT is facing challenges, guys, as the entire industry is. You know who could make the difference? You. If you hit the join button below, it's gonna make all the difference and keep us in business. We appreciate you, thank you.
Cannon has been rebuked by higher courts, including with Trump appointees on it before. She has made a series of very curious decisions. She's a Trump appointed judge with not a lot of experience. In my opinion, she seems to be trying to delay this trial in every way imaginable. Because remember, if it gets to a point where the trial is still ongoing and Trump wins the presidency, he could just end it before they even get to a decision, because he would then represent the US government, which would drop the case.
Right.
And even if he gets convicted before the election is over, he could just pardon himself. So delay is more important to him than actually adjudicating the case. Why doesn't he want to adjudicate? If I was innocent, I would want the case over as soon as possible, right? But he's not innocent. He definitely did it, and there's some news about that today as well. And one more piece of context for you guys: in Fulton County, where they're trying 19 different defendants on very similar charges, the case is moving along. But when it comes to Cannon and it's just one defendant, she's like, oh golly gee, I'll never be able to manage this until Trump is in office. Yeah, maybe not.
So she says that she wants to set a timeline to resolve the matters that she's concerned about by late July. And so that is the preliminary timeline that she is setting, but it's unclear whether she will meet that timeline. Nonetheless, to your point, Cenk, about how Cannon has carried out or overseen this case, there have been some criticisms in regard to what appears to be her attempts at delaying things. She held a hearing on March 1st on how much to postpone the original May 20th trial date. She waited more than 2 months before issuing any order on that issue and still did not set a new date. In the meantime, she amassed an extensive list of pretrial disputes, many of which center on the dozens of classified documents that prosecutors may want to introduce at trial. And this is according to reporting by Politico. And look, to Cenk's point again, there is some new information that has been uncovered as it pertains to this trial and how guilty Trump likely is. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about that, because Donald Trump's valet, Walt Nauta, had testified before a grand jury, and that testimony has now been unsealed, and we get a peek into what he had to say. So remember, Trump is accused of criminal mishandling of national security records and attempting to obstruct justice after the government subpoenaed the documents' return. And so Nauta had testified, remember this is Trump's valet, to the grand jury 2 months before the August 22nd search, that the boxes he took from Mar-a-Lago's storage room were boxes that he just kind of like picked up at random, and that Trump specifically told him, enough, don't give them any more of these boxes. So when one grand juror asked Nauta if he would just pick some off the top, meaning the boxes, Nauta said yes, according to the newly unsealed transcript and unredacted FBI search warrant affidavit. At one point in the process of choosing boxes for Trump to review before returning them to the archives, Nauta said that Trump was like, okay, that's it, like don't give any more. Nauta's account was corroborated, by the way, with a second witness who has not been identified. This individual's identity has not been made public, but both Nauta and that individual said that Trump gave the direction to not give the National Archives any more boxes. He allegedly held on to dozens of boxes filled with documents. Now, why does this matter? The recently unsealed filings show that investigators spoke to dozens of witnesses and obtained information about the inner workings at Mar-a-Lago and Trump's White House that were not included in the initial charging documents against Trump and Nauta, but could be used at trial. In particular, the filings add to the picture around how the FBI knew there were additional boxes at Trump's club that likely contained classified documents. Now, since his testimony to the grand jury, Nauta has stopped cooperating with investigators and has also since fired his attorney and hired a Trump associated attorney instead. And so it doesn't matter if he refuses to testify in this trial that might not ever happen. The testimony he gave to the grand jury could be used as evidence against Trump in this trial if it ever happens.
So a couple of our members wrote in while we were live with good questions that I'm going to answer in a second about what we've already discussed, but I want to mention Nauta. So guys, again here we have Donald Trump turning over one envelope when the government first asked for all the documents he'd taken, and you've seen now the pictures of the bathroom and the ballroom filled with boxes and boxes of documents, right? He hands over an envelope. And then they finally hand over 15 boxes, but Nauta tells the grand jury, yeah, I picked them randomly, and then Trump told me to stop bringing him the boxes. And then at that point, the FBI gets, that's when they ask for the footage from Mar-a-Lago, and they see Nauta carrying at least 60 boxes, let alone all of the other ones, right? So they know for sure that Trump has more and is absolutely positively refusing to hand it over. In fact, he had one of his lawyers sign a document saying there's definitely none left. Now the FBI sees with their own eyes all those boxes, and they have Nauta's grand jury testimony saying, oh yeah, there's a lot more boxes. That leaves them no choice but to go into Mar-a-Lago and to get the documents back. And by the way, among the random stuff they gave back, another thing that influenced the FBI was, oh my God, this was some of the most sensitive top secret information the US government had. So they're like, if there's more of that in the boxes, whether Trump did it or not, it doesn't matter. We can't just have him lying around in Mar-a-Lago and have Chinese or Saudi or whoever spies come in and just grab our top secrets. We have to go get them. We don't have a choice. So it's not some sort of deep state conspiracy. Like Trump made it so that the FBI had no choice but to go in and get those documents from Mar-a-Lago and then of course arrest them because he's a maniac who lies about things like this. So Nauta's testimony in the grand jury is devastating for Trump if it ever gets to trial. So lastly, the questions that you guys asked. Jack C380 is a member on our website, tyt.com/team to become a member. How come Jack Smith not throwing her off the case for this nonsense? Remember, he's the prosecutor. The prosecutor can only ask a higher court to throw her off. He can't throw her off himself. So don't put it on Jack Smith, okay? And finally, Cray Cray Soufflés asks, exactly, Cenk, then can all the other court cases against Trump be free to set the dates for those before the election? So ideally you want it before the election, but trials take a long time. I think in Cannon's case, my sense of it is she's doing it illegitimately to protect Trump, but there could be perfectly legitimate reasons why judges delay trials to get more testimony, to get evidence. The curveball that happened in Fulton County where the prosecutor was sleeping with the lead attorney, etc., right? So the main person guilty about all that is Merrick Garland. He's the attorney general that should have started these investigations at the beginning of Biden's term. Instead, he waited 2.5 years And it's a fair question whether that was a political decision that he made to wait all that time. Now the trials are in the middle of the election, which I think is terrible on a couple of different counts. But even worse, in my opinion, is they're gonna run out of time before the election. And that's because Merrick Garland is a weak, ineffective, political attorney general who I think is one of the worst attorney generals we've ever had.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.